Hi, I'm Sukayna Ray Ghosh, Associate Editor at Canadian Rental Service. Today, we have with us four incredible women from the rental industry. They are here to narrate their experiences and stories and tell us the secrets behind their success. We are so glad to have all of you here and as part of Rental Mart, Women in Rental panel. So we have with us Angie Venekamp, General Manager of Rental Network Limited, Amy London, Operations Manager at Snowbird Rentals, Drew Lilia, owner of Rapid Equipment Rental Limited, and Michelle Nicole, Account Manager and Festival Specialist at Higgins Event Rentals. Yes, so yeah, we have both the sectors covered, equipment rental and event rental. So I hope we are going to have a great conversation. So before we go into the tougher questions and get into the nitty-gritties of what it is like in the rental industry for all four of you, let's do a quick round of introductions, beginning with a short description of your background, why and how you entered the rental industry, and how long you have been a part of it. So let me begin with Jewel Elia. Could you give an introduction?
How did I know that you were going to select me first?
Yeah.
I actually wrote some things down simply because it's going to be a lot easier for me to just read it right off, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
So my name is Jewel Aaliyah. I've been in the rental industry since June 1st, 1978 here in Toronto.
Yeah.
My family was involved in construction, and from an early age, all aspects of construction intrigued me. Of course, my parents were not as keen on my interest in construction and hoped that my university education would guide me to a professional career. I worked with A1 from 1978 until they sold to Stevenson's Rental in 2006. I started in the sales department and worked up to vice president of A1. I worked for Stevenson's for 7 months, and then I meshed the two companies together, and they offered me retirement as a reward. Yeah. And so at 58, they paid me a lot of money to go away, which I did for 6 years. And then I came back and was having lunch with one of my colleagues, and he called his company and said, "You know who I'm having lunch with?" They said, "Who?" And he told them, and they said, "We'll hire you this afternoon. Come on in." And I said, "No, I think I'd like to just stay in my jog suit here with my friend, but I will come and see you in the morning." Yeah. So I joined Cooper Rentals. I worked with them for 1.5 years, but throughout that whole time period, I had this desire to start something again. Yeah. So I got in touch with one of my old partners and said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Well, you know, I take the kids to hockey." And I said, "So you're not doing anything?" He said, "No." I said, "Well, I'm going to put a business model together and I'm going to send it to you." That happened on a Friday night. And on Monday, we found a building and we started Rapid Equipment. And that was in 2013, 8 years ago.
Wow. Oh.
That gives you pretty well what I've done.
That's an incredible story.
I don't want to go after her.
No, not me. Well, I am going to put you after her, Amy. Why don't you give your background?
I started at Pasco Rentals in the early 90s. I was nannying, and it just wasn't enough money, actually. Yeah. And my brother-in-law was a heavy-duty mechanic at the main store, and he said they were looking for drivers. Yeah. So I got an application and I filled it out, and unbeknownst to me, my brother-in-law lovingly helped me out. Yeah. He elaborated somewhat, I guess you could say, on my application. One of the questions was, "Have you ever towed anything?" I put no, and he scratched out and put yes. And when we were talking about it afterwards, I said, 10 feet at the cabin with an empty trailer does not constitute towing something.
Yeah.
So I got hired. Needless to say, I got hired. There was only one other woman that worked within the company, and as a counter person, and then one in parts. And I had a sink or swim kind of lesson. It was a lot of staying late after work, trying to back up a compressor between two pylons because it's not easy, and learning how to drive a skid steer enough to get it on and off a trailer, and learning how to tow. So it actually just really intrigued me, the different tools, the different things, the different experiences every day, and the people I got to meet. So I guess you could say it was just kind of, I just got hooked. And I left the rental industry for a short period to support my husband when he opened a business. That didn't work out for him. So we came back to the city, came back to Edmonton, and he was hired here at Snowbird as the mechanic. And one of the gentlemen that worked on the counter here said, oh, you got to hire his wife, Amy. You got to get Amy in here. I worked with Amy at Pasco forever. You got to get Amy in here. And finally, the operations manager at the time, Dan, caved in and said, okay, we'll bring her in for an interview. But because my husband was a mechanic, I actually interviewed with the owner, Richard Taylor at the time. And so we were in the office and we had our interview, and he said to me, he said, you know, it might be nice to have a woman here. And when Dennis, our accountant, gets behind, you can always come in here and help him file paperwork and do things like that. And I looked at him and I stopped and actually stood up. To this day, I cannot believe I had the courage to do it. I stood up, I reached across the desk and I shook his hand and I said, thank you so much for the opportunity. But if I wanted an office job, that's what I would have applied for. I'd rather be on the counter. And I walked out of the office. 5 minutes later, Dan came outside and said, you got the job. Can you start tomorrow? And Mr. Taylor was just gobsmacked, I guess, that somebody was willing to stand up to him and just willing to say no. Just because I'm a girl or a woman doesn't mean that I want to do office work. So that's what started me at Snowbird and my slow decline into insanity.
Incredible stories. I mean, okay, so moving on to Angie, why don't you talk about how you started in this industry?
Sure, yeah. I started really young. I was in high school still. It was sort of my after school job, weekends, summers, spring break, that sort of thing. Early 90s as well. And I've been here ever since. So I'm coming up on, I think I'm 28 years. I was looking the other day. Started out washing windows, dusting shelves, and then when I wasn't just working Saturdays, I got into servicing equipment in the back and doing all the regular maintenance, slinging scaffold, all the fun stuff. And they've moved me up to trucking clerk, I think was next. And we're looking after all the returns and whatnot. And logistics coordinator, front counter, and I've been general manager now for about 15 years, I think it is. And so worked my way right through, all the way through different glamorous jobs in the rental industry. I'm fortunate. My mom was one of the owners. She's retired now, but she was one of the owners of this company. And so there was never really a tough to get in kind of thing, but that's where I've been for 28 years.
I mean, sounds like your mom inspired you to get into the industry in a way. She
definitely has, paved the road for women owning rental businesses for sure. And she is enjoying her hard-earned retirement right now.
So we were talking to equipment rental segment. Even three of you are from the equipment rental segment. But Michelle, you're from a different side of the rental industry, the events rental segment. So what is it like there? Like how did you get into the industry there, and what has your journey been like so far?
Well, I've been in the industry. I actually moved to Toronto about 18 years ago to go to college here, and I took an event management program. Wasn't really too sure where it was going to lead me, what I wanted to do. I think a couple months before I moved to Toronto, I thought I would go into like early childhood. That was the thing to do. All my friends were going to be teachers, and then my mom kind of found this course and was like, why don't you try this? Your sister lives in Toronto, you can live together. And I was like, sure, I'll give it a go. 17 years later, I graduated, and somebody I had met from in the industry said, Chairman Mills is hiring. They're a big rental company in the city. I was very well aware of them. So I started there. I was there for 2 years. And
Yeah.
then I moved on to another company that is no longer in business, but it was Absolute Tent and Event Services. And I was there for about 6 years. And they unfortunately went out of business. And I've been at Hagen's for, I think, 6.5 years now. So I've been in the event rental for my whole career after school, and I can't imagine doing anything different. You know, I see like lots of caterers we work with and planners, and I just, you know, this is the side of it that works well with me and that I, you know, get to have so many great experiences in. So it's yeah, when I was thinking of, you know, my bio and what I was going to say, I was doing the math, like,
Yeah.
you know, not as long as you ladies have been in it, but it seems like a lifetime.
Well, in our defense, we all started when we were 10. That's how we could be here for as many years as we've been here.
That's true. And the company I work for, actually, it is a second generation family run business. So the owners are, their parents started it 38 years ago, I believe. So there definitely is that family dynamic.
That's really cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, it's we know about your beginnings now. Let's talk about your experiences. Like over the years, anything that stands out, anything that you recall that has made the I mean, being in this industry both worthwhile and you know, satisfying for, you know, all of you. So I'll begin again with Jewel. Would you like to say? I mean,
No, I approach this question a little bit differently.
okay.
Rather than recount stories of things that happened to me in the past,
Yeah.
I'd like to explain what I believe the rental industry is.
Okay.
To me.
Yeah.
The rental industry is unlike any other business. On a good day, you can fly to heights unknown by any other industry. And on a bad day, the ground seems far above you. That extreme, those two extremes have been the driving force in my career.
Yeah.
That have always kept me seeking to find the correct answers. I'm a curious individual by nature. And as a result, this has allowed me to develop some very close relationships over the last 43 years with clients who have come to know what I bring to the table, and they can count on me day or night, 24/7.
Yeah.
And my phone is always on and I'm relied upon. And so when I had the opportunity to be away from the business for 6 years,
Yeah.
there was something missing in my life.
Okay.
And I mean, I kept busy. I wrote a cookbook. I renovated two places, a place in Florida. So I know how to keep busy.
Yeah.
But it just didn't give me that same gratification of being able to solve a problem that's high on the priority list of a construction job.
Yeah.
And get it done. And everybody walks away going, yes. That's what this business is to me.
That's wonderful. But I mean, yeah, so moving on to Angie, like what do you think, like from what Jewel has said, and what has your experience been like? Is it different? Is it similar?
Very similar. And in fact, that's putting it to words, actually, in the sense of being able to solve someone's problem. And they've come to you, they aren't sure what they need to do. They just know they need to do something, and they don't know what tool they need. They don't know how to go about it. And I mean, it's something you learn over the years with the experience on how to help solve those problems. And that's what builds customer confidence. You know, the phone is never off, like you, Jewel. We're always reachable. We're always there, you know, even Christmas Day, I tell you. Solving those problems when there's an emergency, it's a gratifying feeling, being able to come out and be part of helping someone solve something. And, you know, it's on a short term, day to day, you know, what someone's emergency today is, that's the emergency today. and no 2 days are alike. It's fantastic.
Amy, what are your days like?
First, I'd like to say I think Jewel is my new Shiro. Like you just seem like an unstoppable force, which honestly I think this rental industry needs from women. Like I really do. You've really impressed me. So I just want to say thank you. My experiences have been a little different. I don't know about you guys, but we're a tiny little company. I have, I think, 16 staff members in total between 2 stores. And a little different because I'm really lucky because I get to work with my husband. So a lot of the times when it's those middle of the night calls, when it's -40 here in Alberta, if it does get that cold, and I'm out on site because somebody can't get a heater running and they poured their concrete the day before, I'm lucky that I have a partner in crime that can come in and help me. But the feeling that I get when I go out to a site and personally go to the site and I do the job myself and I get it done, and I have a variety of expressions from people, from shock that it's me carrying this heater into a basement, or delight that it's that for me is what I find satisfying. It's representing my company, representing myself, representing women in the industry, showing that no, I don't just sit behind a desk and punch keys on a computer. No, when it's 4 a.m. and the propane is frozen on a 450K frost fighter, it's me out there switching the pigs, hooking up a blanket, calling in the propane company. You know what I mean? It's me in the trenches. And I go home. I got propane ones now, not diesel. That makes me excited. But so for me, it is really satisfying, both the physical aspects of it and the representation of the company. Because we're a small company, winters we used to have to lay people off.
Okay.
Which, as a woman and an operations manager, is very, very difficult for me to do. Because we're small and we're a family. I know everybody's story. I know how many kids they have. I know what's going on with their lives. I know everything in their lives. So for me to have to sit down and go, okay, I have to let 5 people go for the next 6.5 months. How do I pick? So a few years ago, I had one customer that I'd been dealing with a home builder for years. Just kind of little things here and there. It was, again, the middle of the night. It was 2 a.m. and he phoned me and he said, Amy, the generator went out. I need a generator and I need it now. I went out there and I was on this site every day for weeks, to the point where they actually thought I was the owner of the company because of the dedication I put in. And because of doing that and working with them, that one middle of the night call, doing things like the generator from the other rental company is just about empty. I've got somebody coming to fill mine. Do you want me to fill it to keep your site going? And they said, sure. So then I reached out to the other rental company and said, hey, I'm going to do this just to let you know. And they said, perfect. Then it doesn't go down. That kept this company coming back. And I haven't had to lay anybody off in 4 years. And that was just because we were out there working our tails off. And I was out there as much as I could be just to make an impression.
That's some really tough stuff, especially considering what the world is going through with times of COVID and everything. Layoffs are happening, I think, in every industry. It's a very tough thing to do. So in the event rental world, Michelle, what has your experience been like? What do you see with the customer interactions? What is it like there?
Funny, there's a lot of similarities that I haven't really realized up until women in rental became a thing. And I'm sitting in these sessions and I'm hearing these really amazing women speak, and I'm like, you know what, our industries are very similar and we rent very different things. We have very different clients, but it's all revolves around helping people find solutions. So, whether it's a tent or, they have a really terrible backyard, they need this really extensive flooring system. It all comes down to lots of highs and lows, lots of emotions, but it all boils down to helping people find a solution. And that feeling, like this past year, obviously the event industry has been just crazy.
Decimated.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I really realized I've been grateful and lucky to remain employed this time. And there's been a handful of us who have been doing other projects, and we've really pivoted a lot throughout the last year. But it's really made me realize now that we're back and things are picking up again, that's what I was missing over the last year and a half, you know, waiting for not even about like the money and the sales, just waiting for the opportunity to speak to people and really help them achieve what they're trying to achieve. So yeah, definitely agree. Lots of highs and lows, but the highs definitely outweigh the lows, and, you know, getting to talk to people every day.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a fix that
absolutely.
I don't want to say euphoria, but that joy when you see somebody and especially I'm sorry with equipment, somebody comes in and they go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did this. Like I went home and I did this and you helped me do this. Like that pleasure from them is like, that's what keeps you going. That's what you're chasing. Yeah. That's my drug of choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
For lack of a better term, is that it right there?
So true.
So Angie, I know that you are on the task force for ARE's Women in Rental 2021,
yes.
and I'm moving into the Women in Rental questions right now. So I want to ask, like, as a woman in this industry, what are the kind of challenges that you have faced that probably a guy wouldn't have to?
Well, many times, often in, so we're 60% equipment and 40% party and event. So I do see both sides of the world. And yes, the issues are the same across. The clients are a little bit different. Generally speaking, the construction side is a lot easier to deal with because, you know, moving the tent 6 inches to keep the sun out of Great Aunt Mary's eyes is not the end of the world. But in the construction side, yes, they've got emergencies and they're dealt with, like you can do that. What we see is people coming in and if they're not familiar with us or they're new customers, they come in and my counterpart that works beside me often is also a woman. She's our assistant manager. And so there are some customers that'll come in and look over our shoulder and sort of peer into the back of the shop and see, you know, the young kid or any one of the male gender back there and may have only been there a few days, and they're looking over our shoulder and they start asking them. And, you know, we've talked to our guys and said, you know, be courteous, responsive. And if you are unable to answer the phone, or not the phone, but answer their questions, feel free to defer them back to us. And so quite often, some of the ones that it happens to regularly will say, well, I'm not certain, you're going to have to talk to one of the ladies on the counter. And, you know, so we see that often. But only with new customers. Once they've been there once, like just yesterday, I had someone come in and he was really stumped on his particular issue. And he says, you know, you guys are always so full of information and help solve their problem and talk through it and, you know, ask questions. That's what we've really learned is ask the questions. And sometimes they wonder why you're asking, but it comes full circle to what they need to know. So that's probably one of the biggest issues is gaining the trust and respect of your customers. But that comes.
Right. But so being part of the ARA Women in Rental task force, anything special that you have, you know, done or observed in the industry? Anything?
So, I mean, we're working sort of hard behind the scenes with the Women in Rental Task Force. With COVID, the whole time I've been on the task force has been virtual. So we are very excited that we've got our Facebook page, which has, I want to say, about 780 members, which I encourage people just reach out and connect through there. We've got our Women in Rental breakfast coming up at the rental show, which registration opens next week for. So and it does sell out quickly. So for people to get registered for that. And then in January, we haven't got a date officially set, but there is an in-person Women in Rental event happening. And Where is that one? That one's going to be in Austin, Texas. So that's a fun place to go. And I encourage all women to get out and network, meeting people. Like I've been involved in the rental industry, like at a national level, local level. I did BC local for 6 years, and then BC national director for 6 years, and then back to the local when I was done my national terms. And the networking with other rental peers and knowing that you're not alone. There's so many resources out there, men and women. And so when I meet more women in the industry, it's a great feeling. So just encouraging people to meet people, network, ask questions.
Definitely. So Jewel, did you, so over, these many years in the industry, have you had any shoulder peer experience?
Let's bring us back to 1978.
Uh-huh.
There were no women in our industry, not in Toronto, not in Ontario, as far as I know.
Yeah.
And most of our industry was being run by Europeans, Italians, Portuguese. Thank God I can speak Italian. So most of my experiences when I went on to the job that was the first experience when I walked into the trailer. But when I started talking and actually walking over to their plans, which I've been able to read construction plans since I was 6, and tell them what I thought they were going to be needing next, that little look of weariness, wondering what is she doing here in my trailer, kind of passed. And I have to tell you that on a site level from day one, and by the way, I delivered too, Amy. It was a summer job. That's how I got involved in rentals. It was a summer job delivering equipment and picking up equipment. And the son of a guns that I worked for, they made me pick up every scaffolding order there was. I broke more bras than you would ever want to know about. But anyway, the point is that I never had a sour or unkind word said to me by the men that I dealt with on the job sites. And as they got to know me, it just flourished. So my experience was also working in a small rental house. I think we had 20 people, and growing it. That was my part of the business. First, I started delivering. And then the owner of the company that was out of Montreal said, hey, I looked into your background, and I think you'd be a great salesperson. What do you think? And I said, no, I'm going to be a professional. Anyway, every Tuesday I would take him to the airport. And this one Tuesday he said, I'll tell you what, you have 1 year left for your BA. I said, yeah. He said, I'll pay your tuition fee if you work for me for 1 year.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, what have you got to lose except 1 year?
Yeah.
So I said, can I think about it? He says, you got a week. I came back to him and I said, yes, that I would give it a try.
Yeah.
You know how hard it's been getting my last year of my BA? Anyway, you know what? It's been a real interesting road. And today, when I go on job sites, I'm seeing women. Women in the health and safety groups. Women laborers, women architects, women in the offices doing the scheduling, supers that are women. Certainly not where it should be at this time, because we're supposed to be so ahead. It isn't where it needs to be yet, but it's happening, it's starting. So it's our job, us, to promote what it is that we bring to the table. Because I got to tell you, and I've worked with men my whole life. In fact, right now I work with 107. They're prima donnas and they don't know how to get the job done, okay, without a lot of hoopla. Whereas a woman can zero in on the task and already start organizing it in their brain before they're even finished talking to each other. And I think that's important for our industry. We need that kind of decisiveness.
Right.
And women bring that to the table. So I thought a lot about this, you know. So anyway, sorry for taking so long.
No, that's I mean, this perspective is something that not many people can give. And anyway, so Amy, I know you mentioned in your bio previously that you have had those, you know, people who assume you're an office person, or the guys will know more than you do. So
the worst is when somebody phones and you answer the phone and they say, oh, can I talk to the rental desk? Yeah, you have the rental desk. How can I help you? So then they'll explain what they need. Okay, but they don't know the name of the tool. Okay, this is what kills me. They don't know the name of the tool, but I need something that does this, this, and this. So you say, okay, this is the tool. Do you know what you're talking about? Do you know what I mean? You don't even know the name of the tool. I'm telling you what it's called, how it works, and what to do. But you're asking me if I know what I'm talking about. It drives me insane. Or one time we were looking at two-man augers. This sticks up in my brain. And literally the guy that we had hired that started that morning came up. I'm talking to this customer, trying to explain to him the difference between a one-man handheld auger and a two-man auger. And no, you can't do 12 inches with a one-man auger. It just, you know, and this kid, he's all of, you know, 16 years old, comes up and puts the auger bit on the shelf. And this gentleman literally turns away from me and looks at this kid who's had, you know, 4 hours of experience and goes, I need to know if I can put a 12-inch bit on a one-man auger because I want to do this hole. And this poor kid's just got his eyes like a deer in the headlight. He goes, I don't know, you have to ask Amy. She's the one who knows everything around here. and at that point, when as soon as he had, and it wasn't very nice of me, but as soon as he had started talking to the young man, I walked away. I thought, okay, if he's going to give you the answers, then you can just deal with him. And you know what? That gentleman waited patiently while I helped 3 other customers before he came up to me and said, "Oh, that auger."
So nasty.
But you know, like unlike Jewel, I had some really rough goes when I first started in the industry. My very first delivery was a Kango chipping hammer, and it was in the old metal case, and it was heavy. And I couldn't get parking close to the job trailer. And it was literally across a football field at a school. And I walked up and there was. And you didn't have a dolly. Nope. And let me tell you, I'm 6'1". I'm a fairly substantial woman. I'm not big by any stretch, but I'm 6'1". So I walk across this field lugging this thing and I'm thinking in my head, do not huff and puff. Do not like bend over sideways. Like you need to just buck up and get this done. And I get there and the site soup is standing on the steps of the job shack. So he's about 3 steps above me. And he looks at me and he like kind of does one of these. He goes, since when did Basco start hiring women to do a man's effing job? And then he comes down the stairs and he's literally, I'm sorry, boob height. Like he's boob level to me. And I said to him, I said, well, I guess since they started making women bigger than you. And I turned around and I walked away. And before I got halfway through the football field, I thought, I'm going to get fired. Like, say these things, Amy. Like, but that's when I just realized that I need to make sure that I am not going to put up with your crap. I am going to do what you will never hear me say, oh, I can't do this. You will see me breaking a sweat and fall over not breathing before I will say I can't do this, because I will find a way. If I have to push, pull, or drag something somewhere, I will get it to where it needs to be for my customer. But it also taught me that day that I need to learn where my boundaries are and where the customer's boundaries are. If you're going to come at me like that, then I feel well within my rights to retaliate in the same manner. Right. You know, and it's just, it is what it is. I've had, when I was delivering as a driver, one site I had a really nasty pornographic magazine picture. I put my clipboard down after I got my signature and I lugged in 120 tarps into West Edmonton Mall, across the entire mall. The site soup didn't like the fact that I was even there. It wouldn't give me a dolly. One of the guys, the security guys from the mall, saw on the camera that I'm lugging 120 tarps in 2 at a time.
Yeah.
Right? So he brought me a flat dolly, and I delivered all the tarps, and I went to collect my clipboard, and there was this pornographic picture from a magazine. And I looked at it, and I went, and I looked at it, and I looked at Sipes, and I said, jealous. And then I turned around and I walked out. And I went to the owner of the company and I said, you know, this is unacceptable on so many levels. Like, it doesn't offend me per se, but it just was unacceptable. And it was the first time that it was blatantly obvious to my boss. And he simply phoned the owner of that company and said, if you do not have that person phone and apologize to my employee, I will pull every single piece of equipment that is on that site out of there. And I will make damn sure every other rental company in this city knows exactly what happened. And I had
very unusual.
It is, but I had a letter of apology within 24 hours.
Wow. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, oh my God, this is like this is, I think, stuff that movies are made of, but I mean, it's so exciting to see that, you know, you had that strength to stand up to these people who were being, I don't know, offensive for no reason whatsoever. But and like the equipment rental side, I understand, is a little tough in that sense that you are all dealing with these machinery and equipment, and I don't know, people just assume that women are weaker, but I don't know, what is it like in the event rental side? What has your experiences been like, Michelle? Like, have you faced any
She
challenge?
deals with women. Women are
You
harder than
think.
men. Yes.
It's funny. I was thinking, you know, again, comparing the two industries, it's more socially acceptable to see women putting together a table or picking out linen or nice chairs, as opposed to the heavy equipment that you're mentioning that I don't even know what it is. So it's almost more rare to see a man in the event and party rental industry. But that's still, you know, I look back at myself like 10, 15 years ago, and the things I would have put up with then, which were still happening, but now I've just learned how to handle myself better, approaching these situations. You know, there's a lot of customers out there who are older men who just have something in mind. You know, it depends on what the event is. If it's a large sporting event for, you know, 50,000 people or something, or there's lots of tenting or really heavy logistics involved, they expect a man to be there. They expect a man to be at the site inspection. So if I show up, you know, I've had times where people are like, oh, so are we waiting for the rest of your team to show up for the site visit? Or, you know, if there's an issue, like, when is the manager going to be on site? So those questions still come up all the time. But I think people are kind of more aware now that you're probably speaking to the right person right off the bat.
So I'm curious about this one thing. Like, is it more subtle on the event rental side? The fact that they don't want to say that to your face. Like Amy has had the experience of, you know, people telling her to face in a way that I think you cannot do it. But with you, is it more subtle in that sense?
I think so. And I think that if I were in a different position, you know, if I was a tent installer or someone who was installing fence, I think they probably would see it more face to face with the people on site. There are some large fencing rental companies in the city that have women on their team, and you know, when I see them, they're going with the men, like there's no boundaries. They're lifting the fence over their heads, you know. But I'm sure people stop and they're like, oh. You know, so I think that it depends on the industry for sure. But I personally don't feel like I've ever had really a barrier to kind of grow in this industry. And I also feel like that's, you know, jumping ahead to some of the other questions, but just remaining involved and really working on your reputation and having a name for yourself, so people know you. There's no,
Yeah.
you know, who is that person or what can they bring to the table. They just know what you're coming with. So
that being said, I have a question for you ladies. Sorry to wander off.
Yeah.
Do you have trouble deciding where you end and your company begins? Like, from, you know, I know you're, I mean, I'm not a business owner like Jewel, but I mean, I live and breathe my company. I really truly do. And sometimes I really find it hard to define who Amy, the mom, the wife, the person is, and Amy, the babysitter, rental, equipment person. You know what I mean? Like,
Funny you put those together, the babysit rental equipment.
You're all of it.
Oh man, I am the only woman in this building, and seriously, bartending, babysitting, rental agent, same thing. just different levels of ages. But I really, I mean, I find it difficult. I've never worked anywhere other than here for my daughter's entire life.
I think
And-
this is,
Sorry,
I'm
go
sorry
ahead.
for interrupting. Amy, I think this is part of question 4.
Okay, sorry.
So question 4 is, what's the secret of your success? And I think when
Medicinal
you
cocaine.
say, I do everything from bottle washing to, you know, chief to bottle washer.
Yeah.
But I also think it goes deeper than that. And I think every one of us,
Yeah.
even maybe Sukayna, have I said your name right? I mean,
yeah,
Patrick.
It's yeah.
I think we all have the same attributes. We're all tenacious.
Mhm.
We all have a desire to achieve. We have daily discipline. Men don't. We have superb negotiating skills because we always know how to place ourselves in their shoes.
Yeah.
And we also believe that everybody should walk away from the table feeling that they got something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's a love of what we do. And that is what we have to try to disseminate to younger women today to get involved in what we do.
Yeah.
Everybody here agree?
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Angie? Hello?
You have to be kind of a master of all trades to be here. Multitasking is one thing that I also find that women do that men can't. And it's just, I truly believe that. For example, I could be on the phone and dealing with a customer and writing a contract all at the same time. Whereas I have literally watched the guys, as soon as the customer starts to talk to them, all typing stops, everything stops, and they just focus on the conversation. I'm thinking, okay, no wonder I can write 4 contracts to your 1, right? Like, come on, let's move it along. So it's time management skills, it's multitasking, it's like you said, the ability to put yourself in somebody's shoes. Somebody needs a day off, they don't give you enough notice when you're doing the scheduling. Okay, why do you need the day? Well, my mom just found out she has a doctor's appointment. Okay, I can rearrange things and I'll make it work.
Yeah.
And it's, so for me, it's just, my job is 24/7 like you guys, but not just the actual job. It's go home and think about what I'm doing the next day, scheduling. I take resumes home with me, things like that.
Yeah.
And I remember when my daughter was about 12 years old, because I've only ever worked here since my daughter's been born, and my son actually. But my daughter, she was about 12, and you know, what are you going to be when you grow up was the thing that she had to write. And she wrote, I'm going to be a snowbird person like my mom. And I had 2 thoughts at that point. One, I love you, sweetheart. And the other one was, honestly, I thought to myself, do I really want my daughter to come into this business?
Yeah.
And you know, when she was 12, my honest answer at the time, because I was still fighting my way through it,
Yeah.
my honest answer was no. Because I put my heart and soul into this company. I worked so hard to get a quarter of the respect of my counterpartners who are male. I didn't want that for her. But now she's 18. She just graduated high school.
Yeah.
I would have a completely different answer for her.
Yeah.
And it's because of women like Angie and Michelle and Jewel who are in the industry, and we're pushing the boundaries and we're making it easier to come in. And for me personally, I think that's a huge step forward. from not wanting my own daughter to be in this industry because of the hard times and the struggles and the hassle, to thinking, you know what, this could work out to be a really good career for her, especially if she got into some of the bigger companies. That to me just says that everything that I've done, all the tears that I've had, all the temper tantrums and the outbursts and the everything, have been worth it. Have really truly been worth it. Sorry, I too talk a lot.
No, that's no, actually, Angie, going to you, I'm going to begin with the question that Amy initially asked. Like, do you find it difficult to separate yourself from the company, where you're able to find your space and think outside the company? Do you find it difficult?
Very much so. I eat, sleep, breathe this place, and I take it home. I think about it 24/7, and you know, I get up in the mornings and I come in early because I want to clear my desk before the store opens, and I don't really know. I don't really know really where one stops and the other starts. Is that necessarily the best thing? I don't think so. My kids are 17 and 20, and my niece has been living with us as well. She's 19. And I look back and go, where did that go? You know, where did all that time go? And my youngest works for us. He's works in our shop and loves it, absolutely loves it. But and he's, you know, smart and picks up on things and wants to be a mechanic. So that's great. But so it sort of lends itself more to not separating between home and work. I would say though, we do have on our staff, 40% is female across the board in different positions, many of which are management positions. It's funny because I had written a little note about what women bring to the table. And you guys have already said it, the multitasking, the time management and listening skills are all key things. So, but what we do for some of our women is work around their kids' school, you know, so they work 9 to 3 or 8 to 2, and, you know, work around to get more women involved. Because they've got a traditional need to be there for the kids. But there's no reason they can't. We just work around those schedules to get more women involved.
Angie, that used to definitely be something in the 1970s to the 1990s. But as we head into this last 20 years, women are getting married in their late 30s. They are more career-minded. They're not having children, some of them until their late 30s and or early 40s. So they've been able to get into the rental business a lot younger than people before. I noticed were people that their kids were grown up and now they thought they would just try something different. So it's turning around, and that's starting. We're starting to see those changes.
But I think some of those changes come because you have companies like Angie's that are willing to accommodate both the women that are looking for a career before they have family and the women that have family. But that's a great balance. I mean, we were when I first started here, we were open 7 days a week. My days off were Tuesday, Wednesday. That's great before my kids started school. Once my kids started school, I was home being the wife and the mother on those 2 days, laundry, cleaning, all those things, but I didn't see my kids. And looking back, I sacrificed because I too eat, live, breathe blue blood for Snowbird, you know? And so I sacrificed a lot of time with my kids to get to where I am in my career. Whereas my husband being a mechanic is Monday to Friday, 8 to 4. You know, if one of the kids got sick, it was me that lost time. It was never the mechanic that could go home and get, you know, it's okay. He's just the dad. The mom can go home. So if the school called, it was always me that had to leave. And nobody seemed to realize that when I had to leave to go home to do my kids, or to help my kids, which don't get me wrong. Okay, now I sound like a bad mom. I did it because I love them and that's my job as a mom. But it also meant, unlike my husband who had somebody that could help fill in, I didn't. I mean, I would have to come in instead of coming in the hour early that I come in. I was coming in 2 hours early. So I had an hour of uninterrupted time to finish what didn't get done yesterday because I was home and get prepared for today. So, and I think that was also a big part of the women, but Julie's right too. That is also changing. But with people like Ange and that company, that's such a great way to approach it so that women can do both. They're not feeling guilty because they're staying home and they're not feeling guilty because they work. They get the best of both worlds, and that's amazing.
Just think about how fantastic women are. Not only do we have babies, but we hold down some of the biggest jobs in the world and continue with all the home stuff. So talk about multitasking. Come on, really?
Of course we can multitask.
We have no choice.
You know, I think a lot of times the real problem with us attracting women into our field is that women don't feel comfortable, especially in equipment. Now you're in a different situation, Michelle, because like you said, most women know how to set a table. They know about nice, sweet looking napkins, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But as soon as a woman sees an excavator or an aerial piece of equipment or whatever, they're like, well, how am I supposed to know that? Well, guess what? When I started in 1978, I did know about construction, but I didn't know anything about equipment. And we didn't have the internet, by the way, that I could just go on Google and say, what is a skid steer? No, I used to go to rental shows and I'd walk out every night of the 3 days.
With your arms would get so long.
Full of every piece of literature. And then over the year till the next rental show, I would develop binders for the company so that everybody that came in could say, do you know what a skid steer? Go into the library. You'll see there's a binder on skid steers.
Yeah.
And that's how I learned, right?
Yeah.
Today, most everybody knows this.
Yeah.
They're not groomed or looking to get into the rental business. In fact, I'm going to go to another famous saying of mine. Nobody goes to school to the U of rental, right? There's no schools that say, by the way, if you come to this college, we're going to teach you rental aspects. No, people fall into the rental industry. Some stick and some run.
Yeah.
Women have had a very difficult time unless they have family in it, like Angie and or me, that I loved construction. It's a fearful industry. And like most other industries, men drive it and they don't like to see us succeed. You have to be with a really different male individual, and I've worked with one who was happy for me to take the limelight. In fact, I taught him when he came out of university because his father hired me. So I was fortunate in that there was nothing that held me back, you know, and he didn't believe in that nonsense about, oh, a girl can't do this. No way. So, but getting back to that, how do we tell women there's a life in rentals? And I gave this a lot of thought, and I know we're probably jumping all over, but this makes it more interesting. I thought about this, and I even asked my partner, and I think that we need to go down to the base root of this. And I think people like us have to start paying it forward. Now, I've done it because I have a fabulous group of 10 salespeople that I've mentored, and they're fabulous. And I hire men, women, chimpanzee, I don't care. I want you to show me. I'm from the state of Missouri. Show me what you can do. I'll mentor you. I'll help you every way I can. So I think we need to first start by going into schools, colleges,
Yeah.
and having talks with people, with classes of trades people. And, you know, sometimes you think you want to be a plumber.
Yeah.
Maybe after I go in and talk about the rental industry,
Yeah.
they may say, hey, you know what? She's cool. I think I want to look into this.
Yeah.
So
We
I
need to
think
get
we
people
could
to think
start
of it as
there,
a,
right?
sorry.
I think that we also have to look within our own companies. And I think a lot of women who've made it,
Yeah.
especially if they made it hard, the hard way,
Yeah.
aren't maybe giving people in their company that same opportunity. And
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, because I know oftentimes I'll go to the manager, to our office manager,
Yeah.
and I'll say, you know, I've got an eye on this girl, and I think she would really be great at the counter. No, 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 don't take her. I need her. She's good at what she does.
Yeah.
We have to be able to let go. We have to be able to recognize that someone other than ourselves, because we don't live forever, have to be able to take the reins. And sometimes we're our own worst enemies, because it's comfort to know that, it's comfort for my office manager to know that that girl's going to stay there, that woman is going to stay there and do what she does best. And she's not given that opportunity. Instead, the guy that hires the guys for the order desk, they don't have a chance. I know they're going to be in and out the door. Whereas if she was put into that position, chances are she'd make it. So there's a lot of things for us to think about.
So yeah, Angie, you were saying something?
Sorry, I think if we can get people to think of it as a career in rental, as opposed to just a job, and then us as employers need to think of the staff and what's best for them, grow them, let them flourish. Because if we're holding them back, because I think you're absolutely right, Jewel, we hold them back in a position because it's comfortable for us, because I don't have to replace that. They're fabulous in that position. But if we can cultivate and grow them and keep moving them up the ladder, I think we could see ourselves in a great position with staff, and you know, always bringing in fresh people for those other positions that are easier to train. I mean, I started in the trenches. I think we all did. Started in the trenches. That's how we learned. That's how I learned how to use every piece of equipment. And so you do have to be able to grow them and get them to a point, you know, where they're working to their maximum capacity as well, and getting the most out of your staff without holding people back. It's not just a job, it is a career. And there is Rental U, by the way, with the ARA rental. There is
but no, I'm talking about an actual school.
But there is work on different apprenticeships that they're starting to work rental specific. So that's great news.
Well, that might be out west. It's not happening in Ontario yet.
No, it's with the American Rental Association.
Yeah.
They're a little bit more progressive.
Yeah, I sit on the national board as the Region 10 director, so I cover all of Canada. So there's some great things coming out of that. So
good.
They are 2 new heroes. I'm starting to feel like I'm not doing very much in my little corner here. I think that's great ideas. One of the things that I was thinking that you could do, also to bring women into the industry is your trade schools. You know, go in and offer not necessarily an apprenticeship program, but hey, you want to be an electrician, you want to be a heavy duty equipment operator, you want to be a carpenter, whatever you want to do, whatever trade is out there, most rental companies touch on some of it. So you know what? Come into the rental company, make it a summer job, make it something, come in and get the experience, learn about the equipment. So you come in wanting to be a carpenter. Oh my God, look how much fun it is to ride an excavator and a skid steer. And I want to be a heavy equipment operator. Screw the other stuff. But that's something that we as rental industries can do. But we as women need to make sure that when we come across, we're coming
Yeah.
across both genders. Because
Yeah.
I have tried, honestly, I have tried over the years to hire women in here, and I'm
Yeah.
usually a pretty good judge of character. But I have yet to have, unfortunately, and this is very hard for me and sad for me to say, I have yet to have success with
Yeah.
women in this company. And
Yeah.
mostly because the ones that I had come in I had one that used to tie her t-shirt up under, you know, her belly would be exposed. I'm like, okay, you are not here for the right reasons, right? I don't need somebody who's going to stand back and fan themselves and go, oh, I'm too hot. Can you do that for me? You know, I don't want that kind of woman. And I know I sound really bad, but that's the kind that I've had here. And so I kind of said to the owner, okay, don't hire any more women. And if you do, let me interview. Let me be there.
Yeah.
So then the next two he hired, they weren't any better. I had one at the West at my other location and one here. Well, I find out that the manager at the West store at my other location, who by the way is probably one of my closest friends through the years that we've been here, she sits in his office and he goes out and he's loading and unloading customers. That's not his job. I'm thinking, you have never, not once, okay, I'm a little jealous here, not once have you offered to help me do that.
Yeah.
You've never been there to say, hey, Amy, you want to go sit in my office and I'll go do that for you. You know, so I think part of it is making sure that you bring the right kind of women into the industry as well. And I think that's what's been hard for me is trying to find women who want to learn this, who want to do this, who want a career in this, not just have a place to go to get a paycheck that, you know, you can bet your eyes and have somebody come and help you. And I'm sorry if I'm sounding harsh about women because I respect women and I think that we do an awesome job at what we do, but you still have those few, whether it's in the trades or whether it's in rentals.
But honey, they exist with men too.
Oh, I know, I have a princess that works for me, so.
I mean, you know what, it's not just
but
women.
I just want to bring them in, but I want to make sure when we bring them in, they're the ones that are going to be like us.
Well, that's part of the mentoring proportion. You know, number 7 asks us what advice to give women to get into a career in the rental business. And one of the things that I like to say to people that I interview, when you go to an interview with a rental company, take notice of the interviewee, the interviewer. Okay, is he or she someone who will mentor you? Is she or he someone that will teach you and ensure that you're giving your full potential?
Yeah.
Is it someone who not only just wants to bring you to the table, but has a real understanding about career building?
Yeah.
It is important for them to interview us. Okay, because if you get into the wrong rental house, where the person interviewing you is blah, 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 but when it comes to putting down the meat and potatoes, it doesn't exist, then you're not going to last. You're going to be there for 3 months and you'll give up.
I want to hire somebody that's better at my job than me,
or
so that
somebody
I
that
can
wants
trust.
my
You know what I
job.
mean? That's my goal. When I'm doing an interview, I'm thinking and I'm asking questions to say, okay, can you do my job better than me so that I can have you do this job and I can focus on something else to help with somebody? That is something that I learned early on in this career, is not to be afraid to bring somebody in that knows more than you and can do what you do. And that's what I try and come across with when I interview, most especially the women. Like, can I bring you in and can I have you help me do my job so I can do other things and then have you teach the next person?
How many salespeople do you have, Amy?
I don't have any.
How many salespeople do you have, Angie?
None.
How many salespeople do you have, Michelle?
There's about 6 salespeople.
Good girl. I have 10. And there's always women on my sales team because I believe it. Okay. And I have found over the years that, and I've had as many as 18 salesmen or salespeople.
Yeah.
And I have found that my number 1, 2, and 3, if there are women on my team, are usually women. They are so successful when they get into the field, you have no idea. It is uncanny. And I have some hot shots that are male as well. But even with them, my women will always beat them. Like they have this drive.
Yeah.
They're making big coin. In fact, when somebody comes to me and says, you know what, I want to be a rental specialist, because that's what I call my people,
Yeah. Yeah.
rental specialists. I say, well, you know what, if you stick with me for 5 years, I'll get you to 150 grand.
Right.
Okay. And I mean it. If they listen to what I tell them,
Yeah.
do as I say,
Yeah.
and put in the effort that I expect,
Yeah.
good money to be made. And women just don't see that part of it. That's another part we need to talk about, which is the money aspect. If you're going to hire women and expect to pay them $38,000 a year like you do in a general office as a Girl Friday,
Yeah.
you're not going to get anybody with any real staying power,
Yeah.
right?
So we were, I mean, talking a lot about the equipment rental side, but Michelle, I'm interested in knowing, what do you think? Like, how do you think you can help in getting more women into the event rental segment as well? I mean, I understand one thing is, like you mentioned, it's a bit easier. I mean, people probably somewhat expect that, expect women to be there in that industry. But how do you get more women into leadership positions, for example, even? Yeah.
I think that a lot of people don't think, like you've mentioned, as this is a career, it's a job, it's something that they come and do for fun. People don't realize the stability in the industry. COVID not taking into account this past year, but in a normal situation, it's a very stable industry with many opportunities. So I'm on a board from Seneca College on the program advisory committee. So we get students coming in every year from different universities and colleges and event programs to say, you know what, this is a career opportunity. Yeah, look at our showroom, look at the nice linen, but let me tell you a bit about myself and what I do and what a day looks like for me and for my team, and the opportunities. There's so many associations you can join and become part of. It's all about networking. So there are huge opportunities, and I just think people don't know they exist. And like you said, Jewel, I'm getting married in a few months, so I focused on my career for 15 years, and I'm at a point now where I can get married and start a family and still feel like I can jump back in. I'm not starting from the bottom again.
Yeah.
So,
congratulations.
Thank you. If I had switched that around and I was married, when my mom got married and had me, I would be 20, and it probably wouldn't have looked the same for me, and I maybe wouldn't have come back to the rental industry or started somewhere. So there's huge opportunities, and it's just a matter of getting them out to the people who are on that path anyways.
Yeah. So on that note, like what is the advice that you would like to give? Jules share her advice that she would like to give to the women who are thinking of a career here. What is the advice that you would like to give?
Definitely don't be afraid to ask questions. I think that anyone in our industry, if you've been in the industry for more than 5 years, you see it as a career and it's something that you're passionate about. So ask questions, don't be scared. I think that the secret to success in our industry is obviously staying involved, but education. Things are constantly changing and moving and developing. So staying current with not only trends, but new equipment and keeping pace with your suppliers, that's huge. So staying involved in education, I think, are main components to growing.
Angie, what is it that you would like to say to women in the industry who are considering a career, who have probably just joined the industry and have a learning curve ahead of them probably?
So in the terms of a learning curve, my recommendation is in the equipment side, picking a piece of equipment every day and learn it. Service it, test it, use it, try it out, so that you can answer those questions of how it works, how hard is it to use? Can I, like, customers are always asking, do you think I can do it? Of course you can, but every day choose a different piece of equipment and learn about it. And in today, like, I'm not going to lie. There's times I'm on the phone, customers calling looking for a widget, and I don't know what this particular widget is. And,
Yeah.
you know, I'm talking to them and I'm Googling, you know, there's some things where I still don't know what they are.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's new products out all the time. And,
Right.
and that's where, like, going to the ARA show, things like that, where you learn, you see what's out there, what's available. That's a great advantage, to be able to see what's new.
Yeah.
Learning what's out there, and have fun. It's ask questions.
Yeah.
Like Michelle said, ask questions, both of, you know, your peers as well as your customers. So you're fully understanding what they're wanting to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's fun, fast paced. You're never doing the same thing 2 days in a row, which is fantastic for myself.
Right. Coming to you, Amy, so I just, you know, love the different perspectives that all of you are giving. So what do you want to tell to all the young women who, you know, want to join this industry?
I think the biggest thing is to be yourself. You don't have you don't have anything to prove to anybody but yourself. At the end of the day, if you can look in a mirror and say, I did a good freaking job today, and I am damn good at my job, then I think you've succeeded. And it's something that can be hard to do in this industry. So that would be one piece of advice. And the other thing is I know everybody says, you know, and I agree, asking a lot of questions, but the other thing that I really think we need to do in this industry is listen.
Yeah.
People want to be heard. So let's say they have an issue with what's going on. They don't want you just listening to them to solve their problem. They want to be heard. They have a valid complaint or a valid worry or a valid whatever. So it's not just asking the questions, but make sure that your customers feel heard, that you're listening and you hear them. And that's probably something that's really big in Michelle's line, way maybe more so than equipment. But I think that's one of the things that I would teach them, is to both be the one to ask the questions, but then the one to really listen to the answers as well, and really listen to your customers and the people around you that have the experience, because that is how you're going to learn and grow.
Right.
You're the seed, and then the other women and people around you are going to be your water and your sun and your fertilizer. That's what you need. That's what you need to grow in this company.
So
I wonder how many times, though, Michelle gets told that the dishes that were sent to the party were dirty. Whereas all the time when we send out a piece of equipment, it was broken when they got it.
Absolutely. It was like that when I got it.
Sure. Yeah. Too many times to count.
We have to be psychologists as well.
Oh, yes. Your
absolutely.
BS meter has to be really good.
Yeah.
So I want to say it was an incredible discussion that we had here. I think I believe that all of you are doing such incredible work in the rental industry. Please continue doing that and inspiring countless other women out there who can, you know, who can be assured that they have a place here, and I think they can be from the experiences that you've shared. But I think, unfortunately, our time is up. But I think this discussion could go on forever and ever. And all of you.
I think you're just going to have to get this panel together again.
Of course.
Before everybody
Ladies,
goes,
it's been a true pleasure.
Yeah.